Barb moves.
I'll second.
All right. Motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it carried. And I need approval of minutes from our previous meeting, which would have been January 20th. Need a motion and a second for that to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, is there a second?
Do you have to have been here to second?
I believe so.
Okay.
Second? Am I legal to second?
Sure. Let's see, why not? All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from our meeting in January. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? Hearing none, it carries. All right, first discussion item here, personal best / business best.
Yeah, hey, I just wanted to check with the group. Is anyone else having network, some in and outs with network and hearing any of the conversation?
It kind of flickers a little bit back and forth on mine too.
In the county boardroom, there's a little bit of an echo, but you're understandable.
Okay, I'm a little in and out, it seems like, on this end. I'm a little nervous about that. But we can proceed. Go ahead.
All right, John, we are on agenda item number 5, personal best, business best.
Okay. Yeah, got it. What's going on in anybody's world that they care to brag about, right?
We're doing good on COVID vaccinations.
All right.
Also, our COVID.
Personally getting them, or
we're partnered.
we're offering them. Good.
Yeah, we're partnered with Gunderson and Mayo, and they are both being a wonderful help. We're also down in new cases. We're under a case rate of 5.
Yeah. Fantastic. There's some light at the end of the tunnel, right?
I'm just hoping it's not a train.
It's a culmination of a lot of hard work, though, right?
That it is.
That's excellent. Nice job. Anybody else?
Well, if any of you guys are
Feels good with the
here and you're
season.
hungry, you can have cupcakes. I brought a bunch in.
I'll be there in 2 hours. That sounds good to me. Well, hey, I'll jump in with kind of a personal best, business best. Recently did a offensive driving course for a longtime customer, and it's always nice to hear during and after. Had a couple of grizzled old vets, we'll call it, in the course, and they had been there a few times over the years, but just had tremendous feedback and kind of sharing stories and appreciation for the material we were covering and how we covered it, and the ability to take some of those stories home to their family members and whatnot. So I don't know, from a personal business, it just was a good moment for me personally.
All right.
Anyone else?
Anybody else?
Tom? Al? Start calling names, right?
I'm trying to get my speakers on I can't hear you guys very well, so I'm troubleshooting my computer right now as I'm trying to listen to you.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Well, that'll be your, when you get that thing up and running, that'll be then your personal best for the day, right?
Right.
Okay, well, maybe we can move on then. That's all right.
That sounds good. Our next agenda item here is around the table department updates and what's been going on in safety.
Yeah, so who would like to go first? I know we have, I've been chatting with some of the folks on the line here, and I know we have some maybe more so some upcoming events to talk about, and maybe some recent activities, but just let's go around the virtual table here and just, you know, what have we been going on notably in safety, maybe a recent safety activity within your area or department, something that's been highlighted, discussed, something that's within focus, or certainly just kind of an open time to bring the team up on what we've been doing.
I can go first, John. So I guess my first question here, and maybe John, this is more focused for you, is our safety videos. Just wondering where we are at with those. Yeah,
absolutely. That's a good question. I know Kathy had sent, you know, the files over, and it was, you know, we thought we had a local guy that could do what we needed to do. He can. It's right now it's in the hands of two people in our Chicago office, and we're just, you know, I guess it's a matter of just getting, you know, because there's a number of files that make up the ultimate end product, right, for what we're looking for to deliver there on TLC, and the so it's in their hands right now, and I honestly sent them an update email last week asking where we're at with this, so maybe I'll do that again today. Just say, you know, because right now those products aren't usable, is that right? Or it's kind of coming to an end here shortly?
Yeah, that is correct. We are not able to use them on our servers right now as they stand, so we haven't had any of our new hires completing any of those safety videos. So I guess that's another discussion for the group as well. I know Amy and I were having discussions on maybe what some of our other options would be. And I don't remember exactly the company that offered it. Maybe it was you guys, John, that had the online safety training videos, or if that was Lynn Arft with or Urgent Now, if they had the safety training videos online. If we wanted to maybe go that route instead of going with our old videos, just kind of wanted to get a gauge on that from everyone.
Yeah, certainly would be willing to hear from the group. I know we discussed that as one of the strategies, right? Was, well, do we use this as a time to kind of refresh and update the material? And one of the thoughts was using our, you know, the Willis's UL Pure Safety product, which is pretty, I mean, that's really new and current and up to date, certainly standard wise, but the productions are really, really well done too. And those are available to, you know, Trempealeau could essentially, you know, quote unquote, purchase the titles and then, you know, essentially use those within your own learning management system. Just make them available, and then you can assign and track, you know, and utilize the back end systems as you normally happen. If that makes sense. So it sounds like we may want, I mean, what's the group think about that as an option? Or, you know, versus sticking with, you know, some of the products we have are, you know, certainly a little dated and, you know, have been out there for a number of years and things like that. So there's pros and cons each way, right?
The health department would be particularly interested in bloodborne pathogens.
Yeah. Okay.
John, do you know if the cost is off chance or offhand of those videos?
Did you ask about the cost?
Yep.
Yeah, they'll, I don't know offhand, they'll vary a little bit in terms of, you know, if we just want to outright purchase the title or just have a, you know, more or less a pass through. But they're very, very reasonable. I mean, if you looked at, you know, the cost of that versus recreating or, you know, doing a new production, even if it's not ground up, I mean, it's very reasonable, but I can get you exact pricing on those titles that are now available.
Sure, that'd be great.
And we could look at them individually and then, you know, as a total, what it would look just to purchase those and plug those into our system.
Sure.
And, and any others that, as we look at our training matrix that we might want to use.
Right. And Barb, just so you know,
Sure.
too, we do have a bloodborne pathogen training video for the health department to be utilizing. It's just unfortunately down right now at the moment. Like John had said, they're working on getting those back up and running.
We're having Bonnie Kinchy come out to do CPR refreshers on the 26th. It's a Friday out at the annex, so I can include some of my volunteer and contract nurses in it also. Do you think it will be ready by then? It would be really nice to do it at the same time.
Yeah, that's, and when was that date? Sorry, I was jotting a few things down I cut.
It's Friday the 26th.
Friday the 26th, okay.
And
Well-
Barb, that would be something too that employees could just sit down at their computer and complete. It's an online video. It takes about 15, 20 minutes, and there's an actual quiz that they take at the end, and it prints out a certificate for each individual to take. So not sure if that changes anything for you at all.
That would be helpful, but we would have, some of our nurses don't have access to the computers, so we would have to basically sign in and let them do it.
Hey, John.
Okay.
Yeah, it keeps coming from that new monitor you just put in here. I'd like it to come out of that little middle speaker thing that sits behind my monitors. It did
I
before.
can hear Al.
I think it had switched back there now. I was able to figure it out a different day, and I'll play it.
So did we get what we need there on the Bloodborne or the training? Did I?
Chris, I'll
Okay,
touch
good.
base with you later.
Good. So what I think would be helpful then, what I'm hearing from the group is, let's see what, one would think it'd be easy enough to convert our training electronically to a format that's useful. It's not as straightforward as we think, so we'll price out maybe some of the, and even preview. I could send over some preview links to preview some of these courses through UL Pure, and then Krista talk pricing with you.
Sounds great.
Okay. So, good. So what else is going on? What else is going on in safety? Any safety activities or things on the map radar? I will tee this one up. I will say on Friday, it did hit the airwaves that OSHA, quote unquote, will now have, they put out a list of targeted businesses in terms of post-COVID, a specific national emphasis program. And, I did take note that, and I'm thinking of Wisconsin DSPS and their, kind of some of the guidance they take. They did include basically all healthcare and, term care facilities, whether it's short-term or long-term care or anything that kind of fits under that umbrella. And the way they're prioritizing some of those targeted inspections, they said, was based on not only COVID reporting, since we just had obviously the recent record keeping and reporting to OSHA of annual occupational injuries and illnesses, but they're going off complaints from employees and past employees and things like that, and just some indicators that exist there to target these inspections. So, just a kind of a reminder for those that exist under that umbrella to obviously, shore up our COVID response plans and if it says we're doing, supposed to be doing something in there, make sure we're doing it under the guise of any audits or checklists or things like that in terms of PPE and whatnot. I know there's a lot that falls under those programs, and it sounds like that they may be kicking the tires and looking under the hood a little bit on some of those programs, if need be. Make sense?
Just so everyone knows, too, our annual report has been submitted to the state before the deadline of March 1st, so that has been done, and it is posted outside of Human Resources if anyone wants to take a peek at that.
Excellent. It was a good year, right? Retrospectively, 91, we call it basically work comp events. I mean, and I say good year in relation to, historical data. The dollars associated with those events were down compared to historical data. I mean, maybe less, 100,000 give or take. So those are all some good indicators of good hard efforts that are in place, whether it's onboarding new employees or just keeping an eye on someone or training or auditing and doing all those things we do. So keep up the nice work there. Any other safety activities that anybody's had maybe since last meeting to now? Any other activities, updates, things to note that we want to share with the group?
John, sorry, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before to the group,
Yeah.
but the sheriff's office has purchased a online training program that actually is a sister company to our policy maker. So we have a policy company that the county has subscribed to help us with sheriff's office policies. Well, they also have an online training module that it relates to that, and we've been utilizing that where we can just have officers do, an hour or 2 hours of online training while they're working.
Wow.
And
Cool.
a lot of it has to do with, is geared around, obviously it's the job and what they do, really use the force and stuff like that. So there's a lot of safety stuff in there that we're good.
That's awesome. I'm just curious, what are some of the like the law enforcement specific safety topics or offerings? I mean, is it, do they have like a slip, trip, fall prevention for officers or back injury prevention in the jail? Or, I mean, do they get that specific?
No, they don't. They don't go into necessarily things like that, but it's just it's kind of a reminder of policies and obviously through the review of policies, talking like i.e. about use of force, it's going to reduce injuries, or at least potentially reduce injuries if they follow policies related to how they conduct themselves in the field. Like what they're not, you have 2 officers at a certain type of call, how you communicate with people instead of using physical force and stuff like that. So it's a lot of benefit stuff
Excellent.
that we're going over.
That's excellent. Yeah, right. Getting better, safer practices, right, with the encounters that you're having. That's awesome stuff, and it sounds like it's being received pretty well. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. There's, I will say, if anything, in the safety world, COVID or some of the shifts that have been made there has caused some pretty neat training products to be put out. I mean, for example, anything we can do or offer, even in the spare time for anyone driving for the county, whether it's a county vehicle, their own vehicle, under the guise of kind of defensive or distracted driving. Certainly time well spent, but the National Safety Council just has for example, has a tremendous suite of material out there for, doing some of these fun driver related trainings. And it's good to hear that there's more and more products out there that are usable and people are using and getting some good feedback.
John,
I think the days of, what we're seeing with a lot of our clients. Oh, go ahead.
Hey, John, just as a side note, if you want to, and just of interest to you, in May, we have our emergency vehicle operation training we have to do biannually. And the dates are going to be May 10th or 11th. It's either one. It's going to be in Sandoval. It's near Sparta. And, but we actually have it down there for vehicle operations. So, if you're interested, it's a whole day event.
Oh, nice. That'd be awesome. Thank you. I'll connect with you offline here, and we'll get some details worked out. That'd be great. Okay. Well, a little spun around there, but that's all right. Where are we at on the agenda? Okay, maybe any other safety activities, and otherwise I feel like we kind of alluded to the safety numbers yet. Krista, I don't to date have a loss run for 2021. I know there are some activities or events out there, quote unquote, that would fit under the bucket of, in terms of losses or work comp activities. I apologize for not having that information from Lynn. I feel like it's, we're quote unquote off to a pretty decent year here when it comes to that. But when I get that info, I'll be sure to maybe send out a special update to the group in terms of just, kind of where the numbers are at. But
Sure. And I guess I would just like to comment too, and I'm glad we have Alan and Tom on here. We have had quite a few safety incidents out at the highway already this year. So I'm not sure if either Al or Tom have any input, if you guys would like some additional training in any of those areas where we have had quite a few incidents already. I know a lot has been related to grass cutting. So if either Al or Tom wants to jump in on that.
You guys hear me?
You on there, Tom?
Hear me?
So, yeah, this is Al. Yeah, I guess, no real, sometimes just things happen. I mean, if there's any additional training or anything like that, no. We have our meetings coming up. We have our coming up in May. So we kind of had happened as of recently, which are all revolved around brushing operations. Yeah, brushing is, we just heard, there was a big county over in Buffalo County where a gentleman was brushing there, and he actually passed away from his last week that he sustained in his brushing accident 2 weeks prior to that. So it's sent some shockwaves around our highway department. Unfortunately, we brushing accidents of that nature. Ours have been minor. Some knee injuries, ankle injuries. We had one burn. So, yeah, it's just one of the, just got to remind the guys, to stay safe, be careful, and keep up on our training.
we do have a training event set for, as Al said, set for May 5th at the highway. I know the group is exploring, as kind of, as Al said, is kind of brushing sometimes skirts the boundaries of quote unquote logging. They're exploring some maybe more advanced and hands-on training from, some we'll call it professionals in that industry. I mean, there's some local training outlets there that would allow some, whether it's techniques or or equipment, or just kind of exploring all those things in that training. But it's it's just that kind of year, and I think the mindset, it's just where people are coming out of COVID, and it's it's a good time with people are kind of rip roaring ready to get things done, and it's whether it's kind of what Harlan's doing or maybe what we have set for May for the highway. It's a good time of year to have an event, an informal or formal event, and to kind of refocus, right, and just kind of whether it's some technical training or just the question of, hey, is everybody comfortable with what we're doing? Maybe it's one of those conversations. Have those conversations, and have those huddles, and be talking to your folks and connecting just to make sure everybody has what they need, and to kind of understand where the goal line is and that sort of thing. Those can be pretty invaluable communications.
All right, we will move on to the next agenda item then, safety policy review. We are going to be reviewing our hazard communication program.
We are. So everybody looked at it in detail last night, right? And they read it and highlighted and made, made a bunch of notes, right? So I certainly did. Wasn't last night, but I did do that and have a few things to maybe kind of open up for discussion. But has anybody looked through it? If anybody looked through it in detail, just kind of want to open it up for discussion from your side. I mean, from everybody's angle. I mean, what did anybody take note of? Anything? Did we have any questions, or should we just kind of get into what I saw? It's not a bad program. We're close.
Okay.
I'll say that, right?
This is Barb. I have a question. Page 5, under the following materials that are not covered, is there like a definition for consumer products?
Yeah, we can. There's certainly some interpretation on that. We could elaborate on that. Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that here and just see what so page 5. Ta-da. Have you had some inquiries on that?
Not really, but we were seeing, we have a lot of things, and how do you say this? Some of my team like to put air freshener in the bathroom, and I'm wondering if I have to have an MSDS for it.
Yeah, you don't, but we can provide some clarification on that, and I could, maybe that's something I could just send out to this whole group, because there's a real nice OSHA letter of interpretation that'll kind of draw a real clear line as to what is and what isn't. People would find that helpful.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, right. I had one customer, I mean, God bless them, they spent so much time. I mean, it was safety data sheets for highlighters, for whiteout, for, and it was I came in and it's like, time out, let's look at what a hazardous product is here, and, to your point, draw the line somewhere. So let's, all right. So I will just jump into and maybe that'll spur. So the first thing I noticed, and we'll obviously, I mean, some of this is just kind of formatting and date stuff. Last reviewed September of 2018, and I just thought maybe for some of those that would have been on the safety committee for some time would find that to be interesting, and maybe even remember that meeting. That was probably with Brian Margan the last time this thing was reviewed, September of 2018. So we'll get that updated to modern dates and times, but the kind of getting into the meat and potatoes, the program mentions that the safety data sheet binders are assigned to each department, and departments kind of manage and what's coming in and out of those things inventory wise, and getting safety data sheets and the locations. The binders do mention obviously it's to include a copy of the written program, a list of the substances, the kind of the standard, the glossary, and obviously the safety data sheets. Where does everybody feel that? I mean, are those up to date, or are they where they need to be? Just kind of opening that piece up for discussion.
The health department hasn't looked at theirs in a while.
Okay.
I know Reed and I were just having a discussion that the parks needs to get stuff updated.
Yeah. Health. Parks. In terms of just kind of doing the inventory of what products we do have versus what's currently in the binder. Is that what we're thinking? I mean, because
I know I started the binder, and then Reed's predecessor had taken it over. So it's making sure that the binder is still down there, and then making sure that the same chemicals are listed. And if we haven't changed anything, we've been really good about making sure the stickers are on them whenever we get the product from Jeremy, but it's just making sure the binder's correct.
Okay. Yeah, and that's kind of maybe one of the homework assignments here is and I realize that not everybody on this call is, the responsible party for maybe the binder, but for those people that are, kind of bringing that, and it doesn't have to be an immediate thing, because I understand it requires some walking around and maybe involvement of other resources, and kind of just over the next, week, month or so, just kind of putting somebody to task on what's our current binder look like, and what do we currently have in inventory, and toss out what we don't have or need, and put in there what we do, and certainly when the program's piece of it is updated, I can provide that for the individual binders as well. So that that sounds like health, parks, highway, and sheriff would be the candidates.
Do we
There,
need
right?
them
Does anyone else?
do we need them for like bug sprays and stuff like that too?
Yeah, those, just based on how you're using it, I would say, yeah. I mean, I hate to give you that answer, but it's, and maybe part of that is narrowing down on one or two that you provide in the workplace. I mean, if others enter the workplace incidentally, that stuff happens, right? I mean, we got to be realistic about some of this stuff too, but,
Yeah,
so I don't know if that's the best answer, but.
Can you hear me?
John, what is the retention on keeping those old SDS sheets? I know we have a very large binder here in HR of old ones. I can't remember the exact length of time to keep those.
Yeah, there's some interpretations on that language too within the standard, but realistically, if you held on to those for 3 to 5 years, that'd be more than enough. I mean, I know they want you to hold on to some of that health related stuff for for up to 30 years, but it's that's I mean I'm not going to say there can't ever be a scenario where that doesn't help protect you from a liability, but I'm just saying in our time in the industry and with what products you're using and suspected health effects, that 3 to 5 year range should be fine. Then clean them out.
How often should we be updating and running new MSDS sheets?
Yeah, good question. And it, that was one of my questions. Is part of this would be what's the process for when we do acquire? What's the process for getting that new safety data sheet and getting it into our binder? That should be because our program does mention that each department will have a responsible person, right? Again, for managing the binder and, kind of what's the inflow, outflow. But the program also mentions an annual review. So, ideally, as new products come in, they would be added in kind of real time, but then an annual review of just kind of that responsible person looking through and, again, making sure we're close on the inventory. It's never a perfect science, but it helps you narrow things down and keep the binder usable. Does that make sense?
To some degree, yeah. We have some products that really don't change a lot, like some of our vaccines. So if I printed off an SDS 5 years ago, is it still good?
Oh, I got you there. Yeah, no worries. Yep. If the product is out there, right, and it's still in use, then yeah, that's fine. You don't have to go through and reprint.
Okay, so it's safe to assume that it's the same.
Right. The manufacturers, well, let's face it, they're not changing the product a lot of times. If they do change it significantly enough, there's going to be you would know, and there would be a new safety data sheet because it would be a different product. So they'll be, they don't go through and rev the safety data sheets very often, if that makes sense. So once you get a product in.
Okay, would I need to, every time I get a new VIS, which stands for Vaccine Information Sheet, should I be checking the MSDS?
Boy, that's a good question. I'm not familiar with those with those sheets? Can you tell me more? This is
Basically-
for a vaccine?
Yeah, basically, it's the, how do you say, in order to do any procedures, you have to have informed consent. So CDC puts out what they call VISs, also known as vaccine information sheets, that we legally have to give every client before we give them a vaccine. COVID, it's emergency use
Yeah.
authorization because they haven't been FDA approved. So those sheets change fairly frequently, the VISs. So my question is, every time I get notified that there's a new VIS, do I need to download a new MSDS?
Boy, no. What is your gut telling you? My gut's telling me no, and
I
I don't
haven't-
even know if that would exist.
I haven't been, because
Yeah.
most of the changes have been, I would say, minor. There was no indication that there was
Right.
any actual change in the formula or the other ingredients in it.
Yeah, and that information is ultimately for the receiver of the vaccine, correct?
The VIS sheet is, yes.
Yeah. So that, the intent of the HAZCOM program would be for health effects to users of the product, i.e. employees, which I get it, your employees are taking that, from that aspect, they're taking it, they're not exposed while giving it. So, but there's no need to,
You could
in terms
argue
of
that.
the health effects side, yeah, you don't need to update that every time, no.
Okay, theoretically, if Murphy, from Murphy's Law, works in my department, as a nurse is holding the syringe upright to get the air out, theoretically she could bump her arm or something and the vaccine could end up in her eyes.
Yeah. True. Did you mention Murphy's Law?
Yep. It's St. Patty's
Oh,
Day,
no.
you have to include Murphy.
Yeah. Yeah, and that, maybe there is a section in the program that talks about non-routine tasks and kind of how, and maybe that's, certainly one of those things that, the department kind of specs out as a non-routine task, and, there's just some special, the only requirement there is then there's just some special training or communication that happens, within your department, which you could obviously have around that.
Okay. Can we have a
Just how you
discussion
can manage that
offline?
information. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
I do have a question, John. So Appendix B of our policy is the location of the safety data sheets. It appears we do need to update that and even put in the information there. So wondering what the easiest way for everyone would be to get that location to either John or myself. What would everyone's preference be?
Yeah. Where are we physically housing binders right now? So it sounds like, obviously health is going to have a binder. Parks, do you have a binder? Sounds like.
Yes, I have a binder.
Yep. Okay, and then highway has a safety data sheet binder, I know, out at their kitchen, right?
Yep, correct.
And sheriff has a
This is Harlan. We have a binder up at the jail. We have actually a corrections officer that's assigned to maintain that binder, to keep it current. And a lot of our data safety sheets come from Jeremy, because those are usually some type of clean chemicals and supplies and things like that. So we work very closely with him.
Okay, gotcha. That makes good sense. And Jeremy falls under the facilities, would it be? Yep. And they would maintain a binder as well. So good question, Krista. I had that one as well. There's only one binder listed currently in the appendices, right? So it sounds like we have at least 5. So maybe Krista could, if we could funnel that to Krista, and then I'm gonna shoot that over my way. I'll get that back in Appendix B. It's in terms of where we physically are holding on to these things.
Great.
That makes sense. Good. Well, you read my mind there. So that, I'm going through my list here. So again, the program mentions, and Harlan, thank you. I'm glad you have a kind of a responsible person. Again, the program mentions, and maybe it's a good time again when we're doing that inventory to again ask ourselves just some of these questions. Do we have a designated responsible person? Within the program, again, I'd be curious, when we do get a new product, is our process working for getting that information into our system? Do we have somebody working on our annual review, kind of looking at our overall inventory and things like that? What's in there compared to what we have? The program mentioned some training in terms of, and I think this will go back to kind of what training we get and what is available online, but the training mentioned, both initial and kind of ongoing training. That'd be our annual component. I think we'll be able to answer that question, right, Krista, once we figure out, what HAZCOM program we do want to use. And, but quite frankly, in the meantime, if it takes some time to decide, I could put that on for the county, or we could do something, whatever we need to do to meet that requirement. But those are, certainly questions that Jane from Wisconsin DSPS would ask if she was kind of thumbing through the program, and just kind of how that's being handled and looked at within each department. Those were the high points I had. I mean, the program is, certainly meets the regulatory requirements. It's more so, again, where it says we're doing something and keeping an inventory, just kind of looking at some of those checks and balances within there and making sure it's, again, up to date, that our process for adding stuff is up to date. And, basically before we're putting something in the hands of somebody to use, let's, making sure they have the right information on it. That's kind of what we need to be thinking about. So not too much here in terms of homework. I feel we'll obviously have a conversation offline on the health side to make sure we have what we need there. Okay. Any other comments on the program? Inventories will be the homework item, right? Yay, everybody's favorite project.
All right.
I will share but I will share today what some guidance on, what's consumer products and what's not, just so we know, what we're looking at for our inventories and kind of weeding out some of those things that I'm more of a fan of clearing things out. How about you guys? Keeping it simple. What are hazardous products? Good.
Can you hear me now?
Tom, is that you?
Yep, I think Renee just got me a speaker.
Uh-oh. You're very, very hard to hear, Tom.
I know our IT remoted into Tom's computer right now, trying to help him get his microphone working.
Okay.
Not bad. Does that make any difference?
Very faint.
Pretty muted, we'll call it. Tom, we want to hear you.
I want to talk too, everybody.
Oh, that's a little better. If we virtually lean in, we can hear you. Go ahead.
But just going back to on what we were talking about as far as our injuries and
There's out there, we still can't hardly hear you.
Darn, that's tough. I know IT wants to talk about, give us an update on some of the recent happenings too.
You got a mic plugged into it?
Yeah. Darn it. Well, let's keep stepping ahead. If Tom gets back on with a good mic, we'll hear him. I think we're nearing the end where we chat about maybe upcoming events. We know we've got our highway training event. Does anybody else anticipate any spring to summer training? I know we have maybe some temporary employees, some seasonal stuff that we want to consider. I mean, are we at a point where we've got some dates narrowed in, or are we just kind of looking at a general time frame now and kind of hone in on that shortly?
I know I've got to schedule some DLM staff for CPR training before they use the fish shocker.
Okay. And any plans to do any sort of spring gathering for, I don't know what, I mean, would it be temporary employees? Would it be seasonal? Would it be the whole group in general? Any plans for any sort of physical get together on your front, but kind of as things get rolling, we call it? Outside of that, I mean, to talk, whether it's, the chainsaw safety, lawnmower stuff, heat stress, I mean, the whole gamut sort of thing.
Reed, is there anything that you were wanting to do for your 2 park LTEs?
I would love to do something. I just don't know what's out there as far as trainings available or something the county can put on. In the past, all we've done is watch those videos, but I feel like something hands-on would be very valuable. You can tell people as many times as you can to follow the procedures and everything, but then you go out there and you see or hear of somebody not following them or doing something they were not aware of that's dangerous, per se. So
Yeah.
With the seasonal folks, especially with the lawn mowing and chainsaw work out there, just like John mentioned, obviously there's a lot of precautions to be taken at the park, especially when there's no supervisor or anybody out there.
Yeah. It's one of those things, like, everyone knows how to cut grass, right? Well,
Yeah, you hear
well,
the horse
what we've been doing,
the lawnmowers over and that thing, so you just want to avoid that.
yeah, and that that hands-on stuff is priceless. I mean, what some of my other customers are doing, even down at La Crosse County, we're just kind of they're doing some of the same stuff essentially with kind of their tool and equipment training. We're just and I'll take part of that. They're doing a 2-hour block for their employees on a certain days, and just kind of doing some hands-on training with the tools and equipment they're going to be using. And of course, I'll be there to add in a safety component, but they're just anything from how to inspect the things to bits and blades and kind of PPE and all the how do you start the stuff, how do you fuel it, how do you so those can be very impactful, obviously fun kind of outdoor indoor events that depending on the timing of if we can get some time with the groups, I'd be willing to help throw something together and certainly take part. And
I would be very interested.
again, kind of a safety, because it helps on maintenance, it helps on everything, right? I mean, you're running kind of the gamut, and you can be pretty impactful again. And I think you're onto something. The days of kind of these these long drawn out training events are what we're seeing and hearing is kind of coming to an end, and it really is shifting more to the like you said, Reed, the hands-on. What do they need to know from a hands-on, and get this stuff in their hands and show them the buttons and switches, and really show them what can happen. And if you're riding a lawnmower, how do you lean on it and stuff like that. So all great
Absolutely.
stuff. Let's I don't know if we need to chat offline here and just we could do that.
For sure.
Got it. I'll call you. All sorts of training happening. Awesome. Awesome. So we have three conversations offline, right? We've got Reed, we've got Becky there, and we've got Harlan. So training events. We've got highway already scheduled. That's fantastic. What would be suspected timing for the parks? What are you thinking for timing of getting those seasonals on?
I would think middle of April.
Yep.
John, can you hear me?
Okay, Reed, we should be able to do that. Tom, we can hear you a little better now. Go ahead.
I was just going to let Reed know that if we do our safety training in May, that the part-time parks people are more than welcome to come and sit in on it.
Okay. Fantastic. There would be some, thanks, Tom. There'd be some cross-pollination there. So we'll be, what Tom did, he offered up, we're doing the full safety day at the highway May 5th, and there will certainly be some cross-pollination opportunities there. So I know Tom and I are just kind of shuffling through that agenda right now, but we'll be sure to share that. And there's plenty of room to distance, and there might be some opportunities to get some folks in that room too for training.
Yeah, if you guys can include me in any emails or anything that, if there's any date changes or when it is, I'd really appreciate that. And thank you for letting us sit in.
Yeah, there's that might help guide some of the agenda items. I mean, realistically, there's some of the same operations and similar hazards and tasks there. So this might be good.
And also, if you are doing anything, I know Barb earlier mentioned the bloodborne pathogens and that side of things. Obviously, with the park, with a bathroom and shower facility and cleaning up after parties and events, there are, potential hazards in that regard.
Yep.
Anything that involves that type of training would be very interested as well. So, John, if you know of any, anything other than the video we watched, we'd be interested in that too.
Yeah, it's always best to, at least I think it's always best to kind of have someone from that world kind of talking about that. The county's historically used some resources, right?
Could you repeat that, John? I couldn't quite understand what you're saying.
Well, I was just thinking out loud, are there resources within the county that would be able to provide something there on the bloodborne pathogen side?
We could probably hook up with Bonnie Kenshi.
I'm just, in terms of knowledge base, I always think it's best, someone that knows certainly the bloodborne side. I mean, the general procedures for cleanup and kind of how to approach that. Just one thought, but yeah, certainly can help with some options there.
The health department has done some bloodborne pathogen training in the past for other departments. Where we've been on the busy side right now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. Well, Tom, I just made a note there. Might be something we have to put on the agenda for May 5th for sure as a bloodborne, and just have we'll see even what's available for internal or local resources. A lot of times I'm comfortable training on that, but I like to spice it up where we can a little bit.
Yeah, John, we have used Bonnie Kenshi quite extensively.
Okay. And it sounds like a viable option again. We'll take that as a yes. All right. Anything else in closing or in summary, I guess, and things that maybe had on our mind that didn't hit the agenda? Certainly have, again, some follow-up calls to make here and things to schedule with your folks, and I'm looking forward to that. The new year and get some safety events on the calendar. It'll be fun.
right, so looking at the next meeting date, how does Wednesday, June 16th work for everyone?
Clear for this guy, that's for sure.
I will probably be in the Bahamas, but I'll think of you.
No, you won't, but that's okay.
If you're in the Bahamas, you better not be thinking about us.
Well, that's only if everything gets cleared and we are allowed to get back into the country. If not, then the trip will get postponed.
Yep. Yep. Just have to ride. You have to ride out the rest of your career down there. That's all. Oh darn.
This is Harlan. I have a building oversight committee. I'll get that, but maybe somebody from another one of our staff could attend.
Oh, that'd be great. Thanks. All right, the 16th it is. Very good. I will send our follow-ups out to the group today, or at least to Krista, and then I feel that she knows best how to get that out to the whole group, and can do that. And we'll be underway.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone. I'll adjourn the meeting then at 10:57.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a safe day.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.